Oh God, you could hear that. Hello. Hello. Hi. Thank you very much for coming. I'm really tired, so you're gonna have to put up with that. Yeah, I'm surprised there's this many people here on a Friday afternoon. I would be in my hotel room asleep by now. So good on you. My name is Mike Rose. I have been around for too long. I used to write about video games many moons ago, and then I moved to a publisher called TinyBuild, and we did a whole bunch of stuff, and then I decided I could do this myself, like an egotistical bastard. And so I did. Last year I started my own publishing label called No More Robots. And the idea is, for anybody who has been following me for a while, you know that I love numbers, and I love trying to apply numbers and maths and all that kind of malarkey to making games sell. So that's what I tried to do, and our first game's called Descenders. It was released last month, and thank God for me, it has done well, which means that you know, I don't look like an absolute lemon. And I'm announcing a second game next week, which is massively exciting and tiring. So this talk is a version of the talk I gave earlier this year. Earlier this week. No, well, technically it was earlier this year. And this talk is focused around the fact that basically on Descenders, a big part of my plan was to spend as little money as possible. Because I think there's this perception you got to spend a whole bunch of money on marketing now, and if you don't do that, then no one's going to care about your game. And I've seen people plow like tens of thousands of dollars into marketing their game, and honestly not get a great amount of payoff. I was trying to work out how much money, because we didn't spend zero, just to be clear, that was a flippant title, but we spent close to zero. I think I basically paid a monthly subscription to MailChimp, which sends out email addresses. It's probably about $50 a month or something for the last 7 months. Outside of that, we've not really spent anything. Everything that I have done to make Descenders sell has just been me just hard grafting, basically, and screaming at people until they finally listen, which is a thing you can do as well, but maybe not with this accent. So things I'm not going to be talking about today are these kind of things. Now, the reason I'm not, and sorry if that's what you came for, you can leave if you would like, and I won't cry too much. I will. But things like writing a press release, getting in touch with YouTubers, all that kind of stuff, it's been done absolutely to death. If you go on the GDC Vault, you'll find plenty of talks on this stuff, even from me. I have done talks on this, so you can see me talk about this if you want on the GDC Vault. There's plenty of stuff that I think is honestly more important than this, that I ended up focusing on for Descenders, and I think that hopefully you lot are going to be able to apply it yourselves as well. Here are the 6 things we're going to talk about today. Everything here I'm going to explain in horrible, excruciating detail, but a lot of this stuff might sound quite simple, but when I actually say it out loud, you'll be like, I hadn't thought to do that. So let's just get cracking, because I've got lots of words. The first step before you even start doing anything is actually working out what is exciting about the game. Because as I tell so many people, the thing that you think is exciting about your game, you are wrong. It is not the thing that is exciting about your game. Well, it nearly is, all right? The problem is you're focusing on the wrong thing, most likely. I keep saying you as if you're wrong, but I mean that most people I talk to who are making games, they are focusing on the wrong thing when it comes to actually talking about their game publicly and from a marketing perspective, I guess. A lot of the time, you're focusing on this thing because you think, oh God, people are going to care about this. And it turns out that, yeah, that's pretty interesting, but it's not actually the thing you should open with. So I've been calling it, like in my head I was calling it this, and then I started saying it publicly and it sounded really dumb, but I'm doubling down. I call this like the hook and the kicker. So the thing that I think you are probably focusing on is the kicker. You are probably focusing on this thing about your game, which, yeah, sounds pretty cool, but actually, if you open with it and say, hey, this is what my game's about, a person might be like, okay, sounds all right. But then maybe they'll drift off and find another game. What you need first is the thing that's actually exciting about your game that is then going to link with this other thing. Let me give you an example. So with Descenders, from the very beginning, we were talking a lot about the procedural generation stuff in it. And for us, that seemed like it was going to be really exciting. People were going to care about this. But here's the thing. Loads of games do procedural generation now. You know, like it's cool. Procedural generation is cool. But it's not like a publicly facing thing that whole marketing campaigns are sold on. So we needed like the thing that procedural generation could actually follow on from. It turned out that I was literally just telling people from, kind of trying to describe the game to people in many different ways. It turned out when we actually just told people that it was a downhill mountain biking game, that was enough to just grab them initially, because no one's really doing downhill mountain biking games. When we then followed up with, oh yeah, and it has procedurally generated worlds in it, that's the bit where they'd be like, what? How does a mountain bike game have procedural worlds? That's not right. So you can see how like taking like procedural worlds, which is, and then actually making it sound like I want to know more about this. You take this one part and it elevates the second part, but the second part by itself possibly isn't as exciting as you think. Trying to work out your own sort of line for your game, like this one at the bottom, is really important. You can do that by just trying to describe your game to different types of people over and over again in different ways until you finally start getting the reaction that you deserve. It's a really important thing to do because it will kind of, you can take it into a lot of other things as well, especially even when you're just designing the game. If you've worked out exactly what it is that people find exciting, it might start to sort of show you what direction to take your game in as well. So this is another thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is so important. I see people all the time, someone will put out a trailer for a game, or they'll put out a website, or they'll put something on Twitter and they get a ton of retweets, and that's great. But then they go off and they make the game, and the people, those 100,000 people you got on your trailer or whatever, they go off and they play other games, and then by the time your game's coming out, they've basically forgotten about your game, and all that work you did in the first place was kind of for nothing, because we know how fast games are moving now. In like 6 months, they probably don't remember your game anymore. So a big question is, if someone is showing an interest, if you're announcing your game and you're putting out a trailer or anything like that, and someone like thinks, hey, this is kind of cool, I'd like to be more involved, what exactly is it that they can get involved with where you can kind of hook them and keep them until the game is available and hope that they will buy it? For us, and I think this will work for a lot of people, it's Discord. I started fiddling with Discord a couple of years ago, and at first I didn't get it. It seemed like it was just another Skype, but it was purple. It seemed very strange. I mean, like everyone's used every chat-based thing under the sun. But the cool thing about Discord is that, I mean, it's a slick system, but also they've just got kind of lucky, really, and they've managed to just get shed loads of people joining, and they're all people who actually buy video games. So what we did was we started a Discord for Descenders. Now, when people ask me how you start a Discord, you don't just make a cool place where people can chill about your game. Because no one wants to do that. No one wants to just come and chill in your Discord until the game's out. That's not a reason. You've got to actually have a reason why they're going to come and hang out in this little chat room. The main way that we managed to do that was that we ran the closed beta for Descenders through Discord. So when we announced the game, we said, hey, if you want to be involved in the closed beta for this game, you are going to have to join our Discord. And thousands of people did that. When we announced the game, they'd watch the trailer, and then the link would be right there under the trailer. Or when a press place talked about it, they always say, oh, hey, if you want to be involved in the beta, here's a link to the Discord. And we got thousands and thousands of people coming through there. And at that point then, once we had them, we then started giving them things to do. So I set up the Discord using a variety of bots. I made it so that when someone first joined the Descenders Discord, they only had access to one channel that was called Pick a Side. And in the game, there's 3 different kind of teams, factions that you can join. And we made it so that they had to pick one of these 3 teams before they were allowed any access to the Discord. And this essentially caused like a tribe mentality where then like on a weekly basis, we gave them tasks to do against each other. You got to come up with the best one of these or the best one of that. And then we started giving them things to actually design for in the game. Let's design some kits and let's design some banners and all this kind of stuff. It meant that by the time the game eventually came out, we were pretty damn certain that we had at least X amount of people who were going to buy this game within the first 24 hours because they were all just like feverish for it. In fact, when we launched the game, we were going to launch the game at sort of 4 o'clock, and at 20 minutes to 4, we were just like, hey, let's do this. Let's just launch it 20 minutes early, and we'll only tell Discord just to say thanks to these guys. And then we'll officially announce the launch at 4 o'clock. So we launched it, but what I didn't realize was that the launch discount of 10% wouldn't kick in until 4 o'clock. So I run into the Discord, I'm like, oh God, I'm really sorry, everyone. Like, just wait, just hold off. I know it's available, just hold off 20 minutes. We sold like 1,000 copies in 20 minutes from all the people in Discord because they didn't give a crap that that there was no Discord. They needed it now. They needed the game right now. And it's been incredible. It's been absolutely incredible for the game because it's the kind of longevity of the tail of sales as well has been amazing. People who kind of see the game and think, oh, I might be interested in this. They join the Discord just to see what the community's like. We've got this super active community. They join and immediately are greeted by a bunch of people. And within a very small amount of time, they decide, yeah, all right, go on, then I want to be involved in this as well. So I honestly, I can't stress enough, doing this Discord stuff. I have plans to do Discords for every game that I do now. It's probably going to become a logistical nightmare, but it's honestly something you should 100% look into. So this one is an interesting one because I think probably a lot of people don't think about this. When I say the right vibe, I mean when people are seeing your game, what is it that they are perceiving it to be in terms of those horrible things we don't like to think about? What value are they perceiving? The way that you present your game, I think right now, especially with so many games coming out, is incredibly important. Your game needs to be perceived that it is more interesting than all the ones around it. Your game, when it comes out that day, is going to be in the middle of 40 other games, right, when it drops. Why are people picking your game out? Again, with Descenders, when we announced that, we'd been originally talking that, oh, maybe people would pay, sort of $15 for this. We honestly had no great idea about how much people would be into a mountain biking game. But we wanted to just try and give off this perception that it was sort of this AA game, somewhere in between like a traditional indie title and AAA. And so we worked incredibly hard on trying to make this image. The trailer we tried to make we made like over 24 drafts of this trailer for the game over and over and over again for about 3 weeks just to try and make it look as AAA as possible. All of the assets we were doing, all the ways we were talking about the game, the way we were presenting the game. We spent an incredible amount of time on this. And when it did come out, a lot of people accidentally thought that it was like this massive game made by this massive team. There was comments on the YouTube video that were like, well, I'd only pay $40 for this, which was incredible for us because there's 3 guys making it. So it, like, the fact of the matter is that different games have different images, right? The next game I'm announcing next week is definitely more towards like the more traditional indie scale. So we're working out then what image we're building around that. But the value that is perceived, I know we hate talking about like, well, how much is my game worth? What should I price it and all that? You can really help those kind of conversations by deciding how do I want my game to be perceived? What value do I want my game to be perceived in? And then just starting from there. And if it turns out that maybe people don't buy into the image so much, you can go down from there, right? But you can't, if you start off with it's not worth as much, and then it turns out that maybe people would have been more interested in sort of looking at it in a higher perspective. It's more difficult to come back from that. All right, with a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, and a lot of the stuff that we did, it's about not relying on luck. I think that with the vast majority of the games that come out now, and it's been like this for a long time, but I think a lot of developers rely on luck, rely on sort of saying, all right, I've done everything. I've tried to put press releases in these places. I've done some tweets. Hopefully, the day that my game comes out, people are just going to buy it. And you can't do that. You absolutely cannot do that. You need to make sure that on the day your game comes out, you're pretty certain you've put enough stuff in place that it's going to at least do a baseline well. There's plenty of stuff you can do to do that. The Discord stuff I was talking about earlier, for example, is a great example of that, right? Like I told you, we had thousands of people in the Discord. We could see how much they wanted the game. They were asking for it on a daily basis before we launched it. So we were pretty confident we were at least getting X amount of sales from that. There was other stuff we were putting in place as well. We were talking to different platforms, different communities. We've been talking to Steam a lot and just hounding them about what is it we can do to make sure that on the day our game sort of does as well as possible. There's plenty of ways to actually not guarantee success. I'm not going to tell anybody in here that I can guarantee success, but there's a lot of ways to at least guarantee a baseline of success in that you're not just like sat there like scared out of your mind on launch day with your fingers crossed. There's plenty of stuff you can put in place. Unfortunately, to put a lot of this stuff in place, you have to do some horrible things that I found the vast majority of people don't like doing. You can probably tell just from the way I talk and from my general demeanor that I don't mind doing this stuff at all. I am very much a person who will just sort of ask for everything and will just go in and just fit. It's not that I believe, that I deserve any of this. It's more that I know that if I ask, I have a chance of maybe getting help from people and from platforms. And if I don't ask, I definitely don't. That's the absolute bottom line on it. So asking for stuff is honestly just one of, I've been saying it for years, and I know there'll be loads of people in here who'll be like, I can't do that. I can't email people or get in touch with people just asking for stuff. Every single thing that I have put in place for Descenders, I asked for. No one came to me. Xbox didn't come to me. and say, hey, we've seen Descenders. Can we work out all this stuff? I went to them and I shoved Descenders in their face and said, what can we do together? Not can we do something? What can we do together? Can we do this? Can we do that? And now I've put deals in place with them. With Discord, I started setting up the Discord stuff, and then I shoved myself in Discord's faces saying, I found a contact. I just worked out, oh, who can I talk to here? Finally found a person to talk to. And now I'm sort of working out a bunch of stuff with Discord that we can do with them. Another platform, Mixer. So if you're not aware, Mixer is essentially Microsoft's version of Twitch that also is on the Xbox dashboard. I started streaming on Mixer just because I like to always just try and be ahead of the curve. So I try everything that's new and then just stick with the things that actually work. And with Mixer, I started streaming a lot on Mixer, and then I emailed them just saying, hey, is there anything I can get involved with? And they got back to me saying, oh yeah, actually, we do developer accounts on Mixer. Do you want one of those? I was like, yeah, okay. And like a couple of days later, they'd verified my account, and the next time I streamed, I was front page of Mixer. And now I'll randomly be front page of Mixer whenever I stream because that's apparently a thing they do, but I only found out by asking. It's this kind of thing where if you're not just absolutely just asking and talking to everybody, nothing's ever going to happen. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to ask someone for something and they're not going to respond to you, and then you'll feel a bit crap inside. But who cares? Because at least you asked. Asking for stuff is just incredibly important. And when I was saying this earlier this week, I was talking to a guy who just said to me, I just can't do that. I just can't ask. It feels so like reckless and horrible. And I just said to him, just try it for a month. Just try asking for stuff for a month. And if at the end of the month you're like, oh, that was so horrible, and now I feel dead inside, then all right, fine. Get someone else to do it for you instead. But really, honestly, you'd be surprised at the times when I have just out of the blue asked someone for something, and they've gone, all right, yeah, cool, let's work something out. It's easier than you think. You've just got to get over that little voice in your head that's saying, this is horrible. The final thing is that out of everything that's happening, you just got to be realistic, all right? And when I say that, I mean you need to have a plan in your head for if your game ends up making, sort of the average or less than the average of what a game is making on Steam right now. Is that going to be okay for you in your situation? Or are you going to have problems? And if you are going to have problems, what are you going to do about it? You need to be able to take those numbers and actually have plans in your head for what's going to happen. I mean, when we were doing Descenders stuff, we did this. We all sat down and we were like, okay, so what if Descenders tanks? Because you got to ask yourself that question. I was optimistic it was going to do well, but this is video games. So we had to be really realistic and say, all right, if it tanks, what are we going to do? We had plans for, all right, if it only makes this amount of money, then we're going to have to scale back scope. We're going to have to aim for around about this day, and then we'll work out what happens then. If it does well, then yeah, we can kind of stick to these more longer-term plans. You got to ask yourself these questions as well, because for anybody who has launched a video game knows that no matter whether it's done well or badly, you still feel depressed and awful after it. So the situation you don't want to be in is that you launch a game and it does badly, and then you don't have a plan, and then you're just like a husk of a person. At least having that plan in place means that it becomes ever so slightly more bearable. I know this is kind of a slightly lower note to end on, but that's just the way that I structured this talk, so I apologize for that. So anyway, yeah, kind of just to wrap up, really think about what it is that's actually interesting about your game. Talk to other people. See what they think is interesting about your game. Try and work out that exact thing. Work out ways to keep people interested once you have started talking about your game. Things like Discord, things like Mixer. There's bound to be other platforms that are popping up as well. Anything that's new, just try it out. You never know, it might actually do the works for you. And like I said, just try to start just gritting your teeth and asking for stuff and trying to hunt anything down that you can. It might be, there'll be people who are sat in here and thinking like, oh well, this platform holder and that platform holder and this company, they're not going to care about the thing I'm making. They very well might do. You just got to ask them and see, because you might surprise yourself. Right, I said a bunch of words. Thank you very much. I have no idea if we've got time for, do we have time for questions? 3 minutes, I get one question. Whoever gets to one of the microphone, actually I shouldn't say that. Hooray, hello.
Hello. I'm actually want to ask about the Discord, because I know about Discord and then I'm on my site searching for it, and then I see it seems that it's like most suitable for those like strategy games or like co-op games. There's like lots and lots of like discussion, but for us we have like a very narrative-driven game, and then we don't think about like doing like a beta or like a demo. So I don't know how I can work with Discord to promote our game.
I'm like I said, I'm announcing another game next week, and the game I'm announcing next week is a very niche single-player experience. And so I, for a while, was struggling to like think, well, Descenders made more sense for Discord. I feel like if I'm going to do Discord with this next game, I'm just going to be just kind of ramming a circle into a square. But then the thing was, when I started to really think, okay, well, what actually is possible with this thing, I started to realize that when you really have an explore of what is possible with all the kind of bots and stuff that are available on Discord, there's some crazy things you can do. I'm setting up this Discord server. I'm kind of putting the finishing touches on it right now that is way weirder than the Descenders Discord, where people join the Discord and they essentially are given a channel where they live, and that's like where they start off, and it's like a base channel, and then they have to work in the Discord to earn money to then be able to buy their way into better property in the Discord. And they have to go to work. When they go to work, home disappears, the home channels disappear, and all the work channels disappear. All the work channels appear, and they have to then go there and work in these places and do this loop. And then every week, the top 10 people who have the most money and the most standing in the server then become these like gold players in the server and are eventually going to have their names in the game. This is just the stupid stuff that happens in my brain, but you can see how like essentially creating this kind of miniature meta game in Discord. I haven't launched it yet, so maybe no one will care, but I'm hoping that it will at least give a small subset of people a reason to stick around, even if it has no real, them playing this thing has no standing on what the game that eventually comes out is. So I think there's plenty of possibilities, even when it seems like there's not. Yeah, I guess I'll have to keep trying it for more and more games and see what's possible. I do know that something Discord are doing is they're kind of revamping how bots work in Discord right now and trying to support a lot more people making these things. So I reckon in the next year there's going to be a whole lot of additional kind of interactivity stuff that's going to come to Discord. So I imagine in a year's time the Discord servers we're going to be seeing are going to be just ridiculous. So, you know, you might as well start exploring it now so you can be one of those ridiculous people.
Thank you.
No worries. All right, cool. Bye, everyone.